It's starting at 6:45 p.m. We have a very interesting by-election tonight. This will be One Nation's first, big test to see if they can actually win a seat. We learned from Nepean that, but I didn't actually make a video about Nepean, did I? I'm very busy. Summaries: Liberals still won. One Nation did better than expected. That they can consolidate the working class and right wing base. We learned that as well. But whether they can actually win a seat, that's what we'll see tonight. So Farah is an interesting little electorate. It's a pretty safe coalition stronghold, much like my own. Our MP could kill someone in the middle of the street. Nationals would still win with 65% of the vote. It's a largely rural electorate. However, it still does have some larger towns and most of the relatively large regional city of Albury. However, yes, but Susan Ley, who is the former leader of the Liberal Party until, she kind of gave up after a leadership contest in 2025, held the seat due to her winning a shock victory in the seat in the 2001 election, winning it off from the Nationals. Despite the coalition, if an MP is resigning, they can, contest each other, which what happened in 2001 and what's happening now, which is why they're both running against each other. Doesn't normally happen. But they probably aren't going to be a major factor in this election, neither the Liberals or the Nationals. Apart from the Liberals, for some reason, deciding to preference One Nation, which kind of feels like self-sabotage to me, but apparently it's because they want to take back the seat later, and it would be easier than an independent, apparently. Anyway, the two front-runners for the seat are One Nation's David Farley and the independent candidate Michelle Milthorpe. First, let's talk about Farley first. He's an interesting man, especially for a One Nation candidate. He was actually a former member of the Labor Party, Australia's main centre-left, progressive, vaguely socially democratic political party, which, quite strange for a One Nation candidate. He actually donated to them and tried to seek pre-selection at one point. He said he left because of cultural clashes, and that was also why he didn't get the pre-selection. It's most likely, though, due to him comparing Julia Gillard to a, and I quote, non-productive old cow. I'm not a fan of Gillard. That was maybe a bit too far. He's also said some very interesting things about immigration for a One Nation candidate, saying that the 306,000 immigrants last financial year was, no, probably not too many. And quote, if we're successful with One Nation's water policies, we're going to need more labour quickly and skilled labour, which... yeah, it isn't really a catastrophic amount in my opinion. Maybe a bit much, but to keep the economy going, we kind of do need to have a growing population, and native stock isn't really doing it in that department. But for a One Nation candidate, One Nation, this is like very insightful and unexpected. If I'm honest, I'm not even sure this guy will stay a One Nation MP if elected. I think there is a very good argument to be made that he will end up flipping to the Liberals or maybe to an independent. Frankly, I'm not sure what party, but there is a good chance he will, in my opinion. Next up, Michelle Milthorpe. She's a independent candidate, which in Australia most of the time means that you're a teal independent, a term for centre-right on economics, centre-left on social views, and also generally pro-climate, basically what more liberal means in Europe. I would say Milthorpe is a bit more right-wing than a teal, but she is still similar and funded by Climate 200, which is the main organisation that backs the teal independents. But this has become a major point in the campaign, with the Liberals and Nationals especially going hard on it, and One Nation really doing well to pick up the scraps from that. She does also have a fair bit of support in the region, albeit mostly in Albury though, with her at the 2025 election getting 20% of the first preference vote and getting 43.8% in the two-candidate preferred count. Also, since Labor isn't running and most Green voters, and yes, they are running, is expected to consolidate left-wing preferences and votes. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure, but I doubt a lot of more moderate and centre-right sort of ScoMo liberals are going to preference One Nation first. I just don't see a lot of them doing it. Some of the most important issues in this election are water quality in the region, which isn't the best, and a water buyback scheme. And yes, for some reason, we privatised the fucking water. Whether to rebuild the Albury Hospital on a greenfield site or just remake it on where it already is. Also, just access to healthcare being limited in more rural areas of the electorate, with it mostly being in the regional cities. Now, what are the polls looking like up in the big smoke of Albury? And also, what is my prediction? Which my prediction was utterly dog shit last time I predicted. Do not take what I say as gospel. Trust literally anyone else. Trust a homeless man off the street before me. The polls are a pretty comfortable One Nation lead, with them being at 28.7 on first preferences and 23.3 first preferences for Michelle Milthorpe. My prediction on first preferences: 40% One Nation, 34% for Milthorpe, 16% for the Liberals, 7% for the Nationals, and 3% for the Greens. I do still think Milthorpe has a fair chance as a dark horse, though I think a One Nation victory is most likely despite everything. This is a very rural and, I presume much like here, a very conservative area. As a final remark on this video, I figured I could give some insight into rural areas, since I live in one similar to Farah, and yeah, most election stuff does come from like cities, so I figured, why not? There's often this feeling of being ignored around here, since basically everything is in the state capitals because of how urbanised Australia is, and we aren't competitive at all politically, which, yeah, that breeds a certain resentment towards like the city people, the elites, the American term, like, the coastal elites or whatever. That's yeah. Uh, I wouldn't say most people are as far to the right as One Nation here. I feel like most people are more generally centre right or to right wing. But I'm not sure about Farah though. But there is still a sizable minority, and a lot of people can be easily reached with their style of populism. Additionally, since like here, from what I've seen, it is a pretty economically depressed region. One Nation tends to do very well with those types of voters, as we saw in Nepean. They only really did well or won the boosts in the real working class areas, and yeah, and just them being able to simplify all the nation's problems down to immigrants. Uh, that does help them. Thank you for watching. Uh, yeah, the live stream will actually be on the channel this time. YouTube, YouTube kind of stuffed me out of that last time. Thanks, YouTube, but it'll be here this time. I hope you're having a great day. Make sure to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.